This is nerve-wracking. I feel like I'm in a job interview.
So why did you kill that woman?
Oh, what? Oh my god.
G'day legends, Blake here with another video, and I'm in a very exciting location today. That's not my fish room behind me because it is the humble abode of Mr. Tarun, aka Bodgy from Australia.
G'day.
And we're on a very important mission today because we've got some super exciting fish, which I'll show you at the end of the video, which we sort of bought a little bundle of in the Black Friday deal. So coming to collect those, but I figured why not show you a different little perspective of everything that he's got here to show. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And we'll start to talk about the tanks maybe.
Yep.
Should we just quickly get the salt water out of the way?
Oh, they look good, okay?
We'll start with that and then we'll move on. We'll save the fresh till last. So.
Well, I talk a lot when I start off, so
okay. I've got a lot of editing ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's start to have a look. Also, Bodgy on his channel, he's quite famous for featuring the Bodgy Juniors. So I thought it would only be fitting to bring my middle son Tom here, Blake Jr. So I just thought that would be fitting, but he's been a very good helper for me today. So he's made himself at home. All right, let's take a look at these saltwater tanks. Run us through them. There are some really cool things in there. And I do always appreciate saltwater tanks in other people's houses. So let's start with that.
Sweet.
Okay, Bodgy, so first of all, you've got one of those Bunnings stands?
Yeah, it is. Actually,
Yeah,
it's two, but it's meant to be like 4 tiers high, and I split them so it's like 2 and 2. So it's a bit more of a wider surface.
I did the exact same thing as well when I had my second fish room inside the house. So yeah, very practical. And we got the 2 saltwaters on the top and the one very, very exciting freshwater on the bottom. So what do we got in here?
Yeah, 40 centimeter cube tank. It's a mixed reef, so there's like soft corals, LPS, some SPS as well, which is a surprise. They're thriving in a tank of this size. The tank is also less than a year old, so it's just established really well. Fish-wise, 2 clownfish. They are actually a designer clownfish, which is why they don't look like your normal Nemo. So they're like a Picasso clownfish because of their patterning. And then there are 2 basslets, so the yellowfish and the purple and yellowfish, very closely related. The yellow one is a yellow assessor. He swims upside down, acts drunk most of the time. And then we've got a royal grammer, the purple and yellow one. That's like my dream saltwater fish, so I'm stoked that I can have that in this tank. But yeah, it's a pretty simple tank. And then we move over to this one over here. This one is just like a standard 50 centimeter long tank. This is actually the first ever glass aquarium that I got. It's about 13 years old. Silicone and everything is still holding up pretty well. But this is just like a frag tank. So any corals that I'd like to frag, make more of, they go in here. Plus any new corals that are a bit too small or that I just want to grow out a little bit, they're in here as well. Predominantly all zoanthids, so all of those like flower looking ones, they're all zoas. That's like a collector's item, almost like Pokemon. I just want all of them, so it's cool.
So this tank down here, what have we got?
The reason you're here today, Blake-san, but so this is a 70 litre aquarium. In here, I've got a mishmash of fish, but the most special fish are a recent addition. I've got 10 Betta Macrostoma in this aquarium. Betta Macrostoma, they are a bit of a dream fish of mine because I'm a huge fan of snakeheads, except they're highly illegal here in Australia. So the closest thing that I can get is Betta Macrostoma, and I know that Blake is very fond of his bettas, so I sort of shoved the offer in your face and I was like, hey, you want these?
Now, I'm always happy to have a deal thrust upon me, and generally I fold like a house of cards, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, but it's just such cool fish. The day that they were introduced into this tank, I probably spent 3 hours just sitting in front of the tank, just staring at them and observing their every behavior. But aside from that, there's like some guppies in this tank that have just started breeding. There's also some cherry barbs, and I've got some fry in that little hang-on breeder box. There's some plecos, there's super reds, lemon blue eyes, common bristlenose, a calico bristlenose female, Honestly, there's so many fish in this tank that I don't even know. Like, oh yeah, there's coolie loaches in here as well. Bit of a funny story. I forgot they existed for a second, and I came into the room this morning to feed everything, and I was like, what is that moving on the floor? And I thought it was like one of the fish squirming around like half dead. And then I realized, oh no, I've got coolie loaches in here. So yeah, there's some coolies in here as well. But it's a really simple tank. It's just like a sponge filter, fish, they're the real highlight, and just grow out, breed, collect. That's really what this tank is all about.
So yes, as I sort of hinted at the start of this video, I think five, we got 10, didn't we?
Yeah, we got 10 total.
Yeah, so I think 5 of these Betta Macrostoma are mine. Hopefully we'll get a decent amount of females and males, but
we'll get lucky.
We'll figure
You get
it out.
2 pairs, I get 2 pairs, and then I get a male, you get a female, or something vice versa.
We'll scissors, paper, rock for the last pair.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm taking these home today, and I'll show you these set up at home before this video ends as well. So really, really excited about this. A bit of a bucket list fish, I agree. So yeah, let's keep going.
Cool, so on here, this is like the desk where I work from home, and I wanted to have a tank in any space that I could possibly in this room. So that's just a 30 centimeter cube tank. And in here, there's about 20 to 30 something Cardinal Tetras. I don't really have a plan of what I want to do, potentially breed them, but I think they might be on the smaller size. So they're just in here growing out, and I might actually just make this a full blown like blackwater display. There is also like a little hang-on box. There's a male Mystus vittatus catfish. The reason he's not in with the Cardinal Tetras is because he's probably going to eat them all. But he's had like some buoyancy problems or swim bladder problems. I'm not exactly sure. So he's just getting a round of treatment and medication. But yeah, the Cardinal Tetras are in here, holding tank. If I need to move them out, I can and use this tank for something else.
And then this tank I think is super eye-catching. We've got a bit of a Lowboy tank with an inbuilt sump. Actually, the next 2 tanks we'll take a look at both have an inbuilt sump, but I like it. It's got so much depth to it. Got sort of plants at the back, a nice open sandy area at the front where everything can sort of intermingle and do those community sort of tank things.
Yeah, exactly. And this is just like a low-tech tank as well. There's no CO2, no aqua soil. I put in a little bit of root tabs here and there, but honestly, I forget. And yeah, it's just like a classic low-tech planted tank, and one of my signatures, the hygrophila, the hygrophila carpet. But yeah, there's 2 discus, a bunch of torpedo barbs, about 23 torpedo barbs in there, an odd gourami, giant danios, the jerk, the paradise fish, and yeah, it's just like whatever community fish I fancy I can put in here, and you know, they'll just thrive in a nice planted tank.
I guess people might be looking at this tank and thinking that's quite a lot of like Roseline sharks or Denison barbs, for example, that are going to get quite big. Discus going to get quite big, but I guess it's important. You do have future plans for this sort of stuff, and
yeah,
and there's actually a move on the cards as well.
There is, yeah.
Always fun for fish keepers. Do you want to tell us about potentially like your plans for these guys in the future or anything like that?
Yeah, exactly. So I know it's a very valid point, and something that's quite important to discuss and think about, because these are, at the end of the day, living animals that are going to get pretty big. So this tank obviously can't support all the 23 torpedo barbs and the discus plus whatever fish I add in the future. But about 15 months from now, I'll be moving into a new fish room, and these guys are definitely going to get upgraded. So I've already got like the idea, the dream idea of what kind of tank I want to put them in, which is probably like a 6 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. And it's like just going to be the discus, the torpedo barbs, maybe some like German blue rams, cories. So I've got like a really cool idea and plan of what I want to do. I've got to upgrade a lot of the fish in here actually, because some of them, like the lungfish, will get considerably large. So plans are always in action.
Well, what a great segue, I think.
To the big 5 foot. I apologize for the cloudiness. Today I was tinkering with it and I sort of backwashed the inbuilt sump detritus into the main display. But this is like a collection of all of my big South American, Australian, and also some Asian fish. But I wanted to sort of go for a bit of a biotopy aesthetic, except there's just fish from every continent that you can think of in this tank. And it's the home of my Australian lungfish for the moment. He's swimming around somewhere, but he's a almost 2-year-old Australian lungfish. His name's Neo, which is his nickname for his Latin name, which is Neoceratodus forsteri.
That's actually incorrect. His name is Crocodile Lung D.
Lung D.
For 2 reasons. First of all, he's an Australian lungfish, so Lung D makes sense.
Yep.
And the second reason being because that's not a knife. That's a lungfish.
That's a lungfish.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. You know what? Crocodile Lung D is his official name. It's his legal name. Neo is just his preferred name because those two are similar by any means, shape or form. But yeah, there's a bunch of other fish, notably silver dollars, there's some other South American fish, blue acaras, angelfish, pink-tailed chalceus, which I never thought I could get here in Australia, but they're a cool fish. You may have seen them on the Aquarium Co-op channel a fair bit, but yeah, a bunch of other South American cichlids, which is like one of the biggest interests for me is like all of the big but peaceful-ish South American cichlids. Having a contrast between a big fish and a bunch of small fish, I think just looks really, really cool, and it's something you don't see that often. Some of the weird fish in here, there's a goldfish. I don't know why I put the goldfish in here, sort of just, I wanted to, and I wanted to see what had happened, but the goldfish is doing really well.
Widow tetras, black skirt tetras, or?
Yeah, black widows, they're a massive fan of mine. So they're like in my top 5 favorite fish. I don't know what it is, like their body shape or just the contrast they have. They almost look like a miniature pacu, and they're cold water tolerant, tropical tolerant. They can go in like a wide range of water parameters. So if you want a tetra or just like some schooling fish in a cold water tank that isn't like a white cloud mountain minnow, then a black widow tetra for sure is a good consideration. And also actually a fish that's very near and dear to my heart as well in this tank is a Jack Dempsey. I used to have a 7-year-old female Jack Dempsey. Her name was Jill. She used to live in this tank with a bunch of other small community fish like neon tetras and stuff you'd never see ever happen. I don't think it'd ever happen again, to be honest, but yeah, she only recently passed away this year, and it was a bit of a devastating situation, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to sort of keep another Jack Dempsey again, but you know, it's just a fish that I've had for such a long time that I needed to have again. So yeah, there's a single Tandanus. I'd like to get more. Just finding them is a bit hard, especially in Victoria, considering they are a native Australian fish. You'd think they'd be pretty easy, but no, not really. But yeah, there's a single Tandanus. There's a couple of other catfish in here, actually. There's a Raphael catfish. You'll never be able to see him ever, but he lives in there. He lives in there or usually tucked up underneath that wood. I see him once a month, and that's lucky as well. Like I'd be super fortunate if I managed to catch him. There's a couple of plecos, just bristlenose plecos. There is also a Mystus catfish, a big female Mystus in here. But yeah, I'm a massive fan of the catfish. I love their sort of weird alien look, and I like want to collect as many different catfish as I possibly can. But oh, there's a lungfish up and out. He's midday, so he's in his pacing mode. He reminds me a lot of a white-tip reef shark in this tank. He spends probably a good 3 to 4 hours just cruising the tank, and then he'll go down to the substrate, chill out a little bit, come back up. He's just such an interesting fish to have, and especially seeing the behavioral changes after I put him in the 2.1 foot tall tank compared to just the 1 foot tall in the 4 foot. It's just been nuts to see how active he's become.
Much like a dog or a cat, this lungfish is actually microchipped as well, isn't it?
Yeah, he is. Actually, he's got a birth certificate that came with him as well. And that's just to show off the authenticity of him, because if you're unaware, Australian lungfish, they actually can't be caught from the wild to be kept in an aquarium. You can't even actually target them as a fishing species as well. So they're just a very highly protected fish. So this one was captive bred by a company called Giardini, and they were able to get some adult wild lungfish from like clearance through the Australian government. They've then bred them, and now we've been able to get some of the first ever captive bred lungfish worldwide to, you know, keep in our home aquariums, which has been really great. I mean, they're a fish that lives to like 90 years old. There's a lot of responsibility. They get about 4 feet long, so you really have to be prepared for the long run. But I got him for my 18th. I hopefully still have a good couple of decades left for me. So Yeah, the plan is to upgrade him into a massive indoor sort of pond one day and have him like in my living room or something like that, where I can just enjoy him. But really cool fish. And yeah, he is microchipped as well, just to make sure he is legit and I'm not, you know, going to spend 4 years in jail and have like a 30 grand fine as well.
Not for that, at least.
Yeah, not for that. Way.
Nah, I think he's an absolute ripper. Yeah, and it's so cool to see one of these guys in person and watch the growth across time on your channel. So yeah, really cool. Thanks for sharing him and taking the plunge on him. So yeah, thanks heaps for showing me around. Yeah, I'm looking forward to all the developments, looking forward to the move that's coming up and getting an insight into all that. And yeah, and I better get these fish home to my fish room and
better get these fish.
Oh, good to end on a pun. All right, thanks for watching. Check out Bodgy's channel and I'll catch you on the next one. If you did like the video, it always helps me out too. Smash like, hit subscribe and all that fun stuff. And I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.